Hello and welcome to Indus News live from Islamabad. I'm Naila Shuja and these are the headlines. The United States has formally withdrawn from the Open Skies Treaty after accusing Russia of non-compliance with the pact. In a tweet, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says the move has made America more secure. The treaty, signed in 1992, allows the 34 participating nations to observe one another's militaries through unarmed flyovers. In the United States, President-elect Joe Biden is pushing ahead to forge his administration despite President Donald Trump's refusal to concede. In an interview, Biden's incoming White House Chief of Staff, Ron Klain, says the first cabinet pick will be announced tomorrow. Gunmen kill 5 worshippers and kidnap 40 others in an attack on a mosque in Nigeria's northwestern Zamfara state. Police say security forces have been dispatched to the region to rescue the abductees. Meanwhile, 9 people have reportedly been killed when Boko Haram militants targeted a convoy of Borno State's governor. Yemen's Houthi claim to have hit a distribution station of Saudi Aramco oil company in Jeddah with a missile. Spokesperson Yahya Sirrah said Quds 2 type winged missile was used in the attack. Saudi Arabia has not yet confirmed the rebels' claim. Top officials in the United States, Germany, and the United Kingdom say they could start COVID-19 vaccinations as early as December. India has recorded over 44,000 new cases, taking its total to 9.14 million, while the death toll rose by 511 to nearly 134,000. Pakistan has registered over 2,700 new cases and 34 deaths overnight, taking the toll to nearly 7,700. Globally, the virus has claimed over 1.38 million lives and infected over 58.5 million people so far. And in tennis, Russian Daniil Medvedev beats Austria's Dominic Thiem to claim the ATP Finals title. Medvedev stormed back from a set down to win the biggest title of his career after defeating Thiem 4-6, 7-6, and 6-4. For more news and details, stay tuned. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back. The United States has formally withdrawn from the Open Skies Treaty after accusing Russia of non-compliance with the pact. In a tweet, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says the move has made America more secure. Taking aim at Russia, Pompeo accused it of blocking surveillance flights as well as denying flights over military exercises. But Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov says despite the withdrawal, U.S. bases in Europe will not be exempted from Russian surveillance. In May, President-elect Biden ridiculed Trump's decision to withdraw, saying the United States benefits from the agreement. The treaty, signed in 1992, allows the 34 participating nations to observe one another's militaries through unarmed flyovers. In the United States, President-elect Joe Biden is pushing ahead to forge his administration despite President Donald Trump's refusal to concede. In an interview, Biden's incoming White House Chief of Staff, Ron Klain, says the cabinet's first pick will be announced tomorrow. Klain called on Trump to allow for a smooth transition of government without causing delay. He accused the president of rejecting democracy since the election outcome. Meanwhile, President Trump's campaign has filed an appeal against a court decision that paved the way for Biden's win in Pennsylvania. District Judge Matthew Brandt had dismissed Trump's lawsuit, quashing his hopes for Pennsylvania. Trump's legal team has suffered repeated blows with failures in Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, and Arizona. Gunmen kill 5 worshippers and kidnap 40 others in an attack on a mosque in Nigeria's northwestern Zamfara state. Police say security forces have been dispatched to the region to rescue the abductees. The imam of the mosque was among those abducted. Meanwhile, 9 people have reportedly been killed when Boko Haram militants targeted a convoy of Borno's state governor. Local media says 7 soldiers and 2 civilians were among the dead. Governor Babagana Zulum escaped uninjured. He was the 3rd Boko Haram attack on the governor in the last 3 months. Yemeni's Houthis claim to have hit a distribution station of Saudi's Aramco oil company in Jeddah with a missile. Spokesperson Yahya Serra said Quds II type winged missile was used in the attack. He added the attack is a response to the continuation of the coalition's forces' aggression against the group. Saudi Arabia has not yet confirmed the rebels' claims. At the G20 summit, leaders of the world's leading economies have committed to address financial needs of the vaccine rollout to combat the coronavirus. They pledged to lead the world to a sustainable, balanced, and inclusive post-COVID-19 era. More in this report.
The pandemic and prospects of an uneven economic recovery have been at the center of the 2-day virtual summit hosted by RIYADH. In a closing statement, the leaders vowed to support the research, manufacturing, and distribution of safe and effective COVID-19 vaccines. They highlighted the importance of a multilateral trading system amid the pandemic and pledged to keep markets open to achieve a stable trade and investment environment. In his closing remarks, Saudi King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud says the group has agreed on some significant policies.
We have adopted important policies that will achieve recovery all the way to an economy that is resilient, sustainable, inclusive, and balanced. These policies will also maintain the momentum to make the global trade system work for all and create the conditions to achieve sustainable growth.
Meanwhile, the IMF called on making vaccines accessible for all and urged countries not to withdraw support for economies prematurely. The monetary body highlighted the need for an effective framework to help the poorest countries reach permanent debt relief. G20 nations have contributed more than $21 billion to combat the pandemic, which has infected over 58 million and left 1.3 million dead. But the group faces pressure to help stave off credit defaults among developing nations as their debt soars amid an economy battered by the virus.
In Pakistan, 11 civilians have been wounded in unprovoked Indian shelling in Azad, Jammu and Kashmir at the line of control. A statement by the military's media wing said the Indian firing targeted a wedding ceremony with mortar shells and rockets. 6 women and 4 children are among those wounded. The statement said Indian troops have been deliberately targeting civilian populations along the LOC. It said the attack reflects the Indian Army's unprofessionalism and utter disregard for human rights. Last week, Pakistan unveiled a dossier containing details of India's state sponsorship of terrorism. U.S. Special Envoy Zalmay Khalilzad has hailed Pakistan's efforts for a reduction in violence and a ceasefire in Afghanistan. In a series of tweets, Khalilzad said Prime Minister Imran Khan's recent Afghan visit is a concrete step to achieving this goal. He also welcomed the 2 countries' pledge to work together to strengthen security and trade ties. Khalilzad congratulated both countries for placing an emphasis on inclusive governance and people-to-people relations. He also lauded the importance of Pakistan and Afghanistan to have attached to economic connectivity, linking them with Central Asian states. Earlier in his maiden visit to Afghanistan, the Prime Minister pledged his full support for the Afghan peace process. In Pakistan, 34 people have lost their lives to COVID-19 over the past 24 hours, raising the death toll to 7,696. The Health Ministry says 2,756 people tested positive for the disease overnight. The ministry said there are more than 38,000 active COVID-19 cases in the country. It said out of over 376,000 countrywide cases, more than 330,000 have recovered so far. The ministry added over 163,000 cases have been detected in the province of Sindh, while the Punjab has reported over 114,000 cases. In the capital of Islamabad, over 27,000 have been infected so far. Top officials in the United States, Germany, and the United Kingdom say they could start COVID-19 vaccinations as early as December. Globally, the virus has claimed over 1.38 million lives and infected over 58.5 million people so far. More in this report.
While the second wave of COVID-19 rages on, the world is finally gearing up to combat the pandemic with the first batch of vaccines. Alarm bells are ringing in Europe after the WHO warned of a severe third wave in the region in early 2021. With cases soaring, the UK, France, Spain and Italy have decided to go for mass administration of vaccine as early as next month.
At its essence, our proposal consists in the following. 1. Making a reality the commitment to remove sums of debt and debt servicing to the poor nations of the world. 2. Guarantee that middle-income countries can access credit at interest rates equivalent to the current ones in developed countries.
Hospitals in the US are overwhelmed after over 3 million people tested positive in the current month alone. The country's coronavirus infections have surged to over 12.2 million with nearly 257,000 deaths. Deaths in Latin America continue to rise, with the recent surge in Mexico among the worst in the region. President Andrés Obrador says the economic devastation by COVID-19 to developing countries required global consideration with concrete steps.
I inform you that our country will be, together with Germany, the first country in the European Union to have a complete vaccination plan against COVID-19.
Over in Asia, India has recorded over 44,000 new cases, taking its total to 9.14 million, while the death toll rose by 511 to nearly 134,000. China continues to witness new imported cases while keeping a tight lid on community spread. Meanwhile, in South Korea, the military has reported its highest daily COVID-19 cases over cluster infection at a border unit.
UNICEF says nearly 2 billion doses of COVID-19 vaccines will be given to developing countries next year. The United Nations Children's Agency says it is working with over 350 airlines and freight companies. UNICEF says the agency will deliver vaccines and 1 billion syringes to countries such as Afghanistan and Yemen. This mammoth operation is a part of COVAX, a global COVID-19 vaccine allocation plan with the World Health Organization. The COVAX initiative aims at the encouraging of governments to first vaccinate the most at risk in every country. Drug makers and research centers worldwide are racing to develop COVID-19 vaccines with a large global trials underway. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has appointed veteran diplomat Faisal Miqdad as the new foreign minister. In a statement, the presidential office said Miqdad had been the deputy foreign minister since 2006. It said the new foreign minister will replace Walid Muallim, who died last week at Damascus Hospital. Muallim was a staunch defender of the government's crackdown on peaceful protests in 2011. The president has also appointed Bashar al-Jafri as the new deputy foreign minister. 8 people have been shot in a massacre on a coffee plantation in Colombia's Department of Antioquia. Authorities say the incident of this shooting is linked to drug trafficking. Benita City Mayor Carlos Mario Vidala said disputes over markets for illicit substances have caused the massacre. He added the massacre occurred when assailants opened fire on 14 people at the La Gabriela coffee plantation.
It appears that the disputes over market for illicit substances in our community was what caused the massacre yesterday, Saturday night in Britannia. 10 heavily armed men arrived at the La Gabriela plantation in Vereda La Julia and indiscriminately shot at 14 people.
In another incident, authorities said 4 people were killed in the city of Aligarh in the Department of Cauca. Belarus has decided to blacklist a number of senior officials from the European Union and European nations. In an interview, Foreign Minister Vladimir Mikheyev said if the EU imposes sanctions on Belarus, Minsk will have to respond adequately. Mikheyev said Belarus will expand its sanction list in the retaliation for EU-imposed sanctions on 15 officials. He said Minsk will speak with Western nations about the economic sanctions because it will pose a big threat to Belarus statehood in general. Meanwhile, more than 200 people have been arrested in Minsk during the latest anti-government protest. Police used stun grenades to disperse crowds who were demanding President Alexander Lukashenko's resignation. They accused the president of electoral fraud, but he denies any wrongdoing. A sea of rolling clouds cascaded down the face of the Lushan Mountain in East China's Jiangxi province. They offered a stunning scene which mesmerized visitors and photography enthusiasts for several hours. More in this report.
The flowing clouds in China's Lushan Mountain pervaded the valleys and enveloped ridges, streaming down to the forest and red roof houses below, creating an amazing cloud waterfall landscape. In a number of scenic spots, layer upon layer of clouds stretched for miles, drawing shutterbugs, both professional and amateur. No one wants to miss out on the opportunity to capture this beautiful moment.
The sea of clouds, snowscape, and the yellow leaves in the golden autumn all make photography enjoyable here. Plus, breathing in the fresh air is also really great.
Visitors say the scene one captures is the lens is quite different from the one you see with your own eyes. They describe the view as beautiful as a fairyland. The Lushan Mountain, famous for its mighty peaks, roaring waterfalls, and mysterious cloud mists, was listed as a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in 1996.
In Switzerland, modest COVID-19 restrictions have allowed near-normal operations in the Zermatt town, while other alpine resorts keep their lifts shut. What arrangement authorities have made and what people think on the glacier where Zermatt offers year-round skiing in this report.
Blue skies over the Matterhorn drew skiers and snowboarders to Zermatt as well as police to break up crowds. The resort is known throughout the world for its skiing, especially Trift G for its moguls. The high altitude results in consistent skiing throughout the summer. Switzerland hopes a middle way of social distancing and mask wearing on lifts can prop up pillars of the economy and tourism without fueling the pandemic. Zermatt mayor also thinks the future looks bright.
We're trying hard at the moment to improve every possibility that is been offered. So with the distance, social distancing, masks, whatever. Because we believe we have to live with COVID-19. There's no way around it, and people need vacation, people need mountains, people need fresh air and sunshine, and that's our aim, to make it possible.
Some Swiss resorts, including Davos to the northwest, boast of cold fogging equipment. They think the weather is cold enough to blast the interiors of gondolas and kill 99% of the viruses, bacteria and spores in a minute. The Swiss Tourism Association has even adopted clean and safe as its motto in the hope of easing tourist nerves. But no matter what, there is no denying the sense of release from confinement that a day on slopes can bring for some.
I gotta say, I'm not really scared. I think it would be worse if you could not go to the mountains at all. And I think the protection here is kind of good for me, at least. There are not so many people here, so I think it's okay.
Switzerland is being a second wave coronavirus hotspot with 5,000 infections a day and mounting deaths. So much so, earlier authorities asked the vulnerable to put their wishes on paper in case the worst should happen. But Swiss resorts attempt to make some profit, while neighboring countries have all ordered even the high-altitude lifts to remain closed for now.
It's now time for a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Stocks in the Asia-Pacific are trading mixed as investors continue to carefully watch developments regarding COVID-19 vaccines. Mainland Chinese stocks have gained over 1%, with both the Shanghai Composite and the Shenzhen Component in a positive territory, while South Korea's Kospi has jumped almost 2%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index has dipped below the flat line. Meanwhile, in Japan, the Nikkei 225 fell nearly 0.5%, while the Topix Index also shed. Stocks in Australia have gained, with the ASX 200 edging up marginally. And now sports. In tennis, Russian Daniil Medvedev beats Dominic Thiem to claim the ATP Finals title. Medvedev stormed back from a set down to win the biggest title of his career after defeating Thiem 4-6, 7-6, and 6-4.
The 24-year-old Daniil Medvedev has become only the fourth player in ATP history to beat the world's top three at the same tournament. Team looked on course to become the first Austrian to win the title, but Medvedev turned the tide in superb fashion. The Russian threw away a 40-0 lead on serve at 2-2, gifting Team the first set with a double fall. He saved 2 break points, pushing it into a tie break, reeling off 7 points in a row to claim the second set.
4-6, 7-6, 6-4.
Medvedev secured the break of serve in the fourth game of the final set and sealed his victory with a blistering pace.
One of my best victories. 2 hours 42, 3 sets against amazing player Dominic. Congrats already for what you achieved in your career. You are playing unbelievable. I hope we're going to have many more matches to come on the big occasions like this.
Medvedev has also become the 5th successive first-time winner of the title.
In Brazil, Maxime Chablos receives perfect marks for one of his tricks as he wins the SUPERKITE Brazil 2020.
World's top kite surfers took part in SUPERKITE, which is a freestyle international event held at Ilha de Guajiro in Brazil. After 5 days of competition, the men's event went to Switzerland's Maxime Chablos. Chablos gained a perfect 10 score for a backmop 7, with grab helping him to a total of 36.73. Eric Anderson of Brazil took second with 34.33, and compatriot Manuel Soares was third with 30.43. The women's event went to world champion Michele Sol of Brazil with a score of 36.17 points. Spain's Rita Arenas took second with 30.96, while Pippa Van was at third place with 24.87.
In MotoGP 2020, KTM's Miguel Oliveira has won the Portuguese Grand Prix after holding off Ducati's Jack Miller at the Algarve International Circuit. Oliveira bagged his victory on his home soil, marking the second seasonal success for the 25-year-old. Yamaha's Franco Morbidelli finished third after Miller snatched the second position in the last corners. Starting at the 20th, Suzuki's new world champion Joan Mir faced electronic problems and was forced to retire. 9-time world champion Valentino Rossi ended his 15-year Yamaha career in the final race of the season. It's now time to take a look at the weather around the world. For the latest news updates, you can follow us on our social media at Indus.News.